What is your fire? This is not a simple question, but it's probably one of the greatest questions you could ask yourself. What is this thing that keeps you moving forward? That passion that comes from your soul? The dream you want to achieve? When we are young, answering this question is quite simple. After all, when you were asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? You used to answer with passion and enthusiasm. Perhaps you wanted to be a doctor, maybe a firefighter, or even an astronaut. This childish flame is something I believe we all had at some point, and I really want you to think about this. What was the thing that inspired you, that made you want to grow up? While you think about yours, let me tell you a little bit about mine. Growing up, I wanted to be an inventor of creating machines able to help make each day easier, robots for humanity. When I was asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? I used to exclaim systems engineer with all of my heart. Although I did not know how to write it, and I definitely did not know what it implied. But then, something interesting happened. I grew up, I changed, and I began to doubt. When I was asked the very same question, I began answering, I do not know. When I tried to spend hours in front of a computer to find new ideas or think about new machines, these ideas didn't come. What was once my fire was no more. And it felt weird. I was convinced this was the only path that I could take. Well, I was mistaken. I had to understand something essential for change and progress. Change is good. And as we change and as we grow up, so will our fires. There will be times where uncertainty will prevail. We perhaps may feel the need to conform. We may think that perhaps at this age or at this point, keeping on fighting for your dream life is more of a fantasy than reality, and it is better to conform to an unwanted life than keeping on fighting for your dream one. But if you continue with the strength to find your inner fire and then go through it all, you will be working at your optimal level. And this way, you can begin making a change. Then, as a butterfly effect, your flame will make a change in the greater society. Growing up, there has always been a story that has resonated with me, and it is the Greek tale of Prometheus. This story follows a titan tasked by Zeus, lord of the gods, to create a species for his amusement. But Prometheus, being as smart as he was, realized they would not survive without his intervention. So, against Zeus's wishes, he stole fire for humanity as a way to help them prosper, progress, and survive. His story works as a testimony of how both you and I can maximize our potential in order to fulfill a purpose, and it can be broken down into three comprehensible pillars, so we can become the best versions of ourselves. Starting by the first pillar, I want to ask you a very important question. Are you really you? It may sound like a funny question, but it is worth asking. Are you being true to yourself? Are you acting in accordance to your nature? Most often than not, we don't. And this is the most logical thing in the world. After all, we humans are creatures of community and have survived for millennia by belonging to a group. This has its benefit, of course. It gives safety and comfort, but it can also undermine what is potentially the greatest and most important aspect of progress, which is individuality. Going back to the myth of Prometheus, the status quo was against him. He knew that he'd be frowned upon by the other gods. After all, they would not understand his sympathy for an insignificant species, but he would keep on pushing forwards as a way to make his intentions become a reality. Being true to yourself is essential. If you weren't true to your nature, perhaps change might not come. I am sure you have amazing ideas, but it is sometimes that subtle fear of standing out that stands in the way between you and your goals. For starters, I've always wanted to make a change, but there was a time where, regardless of my will, there was something holding me back. I seemed to think that acceptance and validation were necessary for my well-being. I tried to find a path to follow, but would soon realize none were right for me. I felt odd and not as happy as I could be, and I am sure this is probably a very common dilemma. What if today I am accepted for being someone I am not, but tomorrow I am discarded for being genuine. One path is definitely easier than the other, but only one of those will present opportunities for growth and fulfillment. It is a hard process, but if you're able to find your fire and be true to yourself despite what others think, you will be able to find the thing that drives you forwards and makes a change. Without originality, creativity, and imagination, a world in which we live in today would truly be impossible. As a second step, action. And it's arguably the most important of them all. After all, will is nothing without action. You could have millions of incredible ideas, but they will mean nothing if you didn't have the strength to keep on going forward and take the first step. Take a look around you and really take in your surroundings. Every single thing, each chair, each light, the floor, the wall, and the roof, they all serve a purpose. And none of this would have ever existed if it were not for some people who decided to take action and turn their ideas into a reality. Going back in time to October 3rd, 1903, the New York Times had published an article titled "Flying Machines Which Do Not Fly." In this editorial, the Times had expressed strong skepticism about manned flight, even stating it would take anywhere from 1 to 10 million years in order to put a man in the sky. But, ironically enough, only 9 weeks later, on December 17th of the very same year, Orville and Wilbur Wright would fly the first sustained powered flight, opening a whole new world for aviation. There is no such thing as finding your flame if you don't take your first step. And I will now give you a little personal example. 3 years ago, I wanted to write a book. But at 14 years old, and with no real experience, I doubted how much I could do. Additionally, I had a deadline, more or less 6 months, in which I had to juggle with my academics, my personal life, and writing a whole book. The research, well, it was done, but now I had to write. And writing, that was the intimidating part. But did I let that stop me? Yes, absolutely, and for quite a while. But then I began doing something that I continue to do, up to the date, as a way to ensure some of my actions go toward the goals. And it is the following. I focus on moving my right foot. And once in action, I feel as if I'm able to do almost anything. In the book's case, I would go up straight to my computer, open a document, and title it Book. This way, each time I had to do any task in my computer, I would come across a book title document and feel the need to write at least one sentence. My mom usually says that any goal should be written down or constantly visualized, as a way some of your actions go towards this purpose. And this is really a very solid piece of advice. If it weren't for this, progress might not be possible, because it is in these small actions that something great can come out. When thinking of the myth of Prometheus, I tend to look at things from his perspective, and I also want you to do this very same thing. Picture the following situation. You are sitting down in top of a great mountain, and down in the valley you see a bunch of small, fragile, almost insignificant beings. These were the humans, and Prometheus, being the creator of humanity, must have felt some angst, knowing that his creation, his kids, would practically die in the winter. He had to take action. Zeus had made it clear he should not intervene, but he would. He would take his first step. But what could this be? Perhaps he focused on moving his right foot, and once in action, and as the myth would tell us, he would set course for the forges of the blacksmith god Hephaestus and steal fire for humanity. The next step, probably the hardest of them all. Persistence is key, and with the strength to continue even under hard circumstances, especially under hard circumstances, most, if not all, goals are achievable. It is a process that takes time. It implies falling down, getting back up, and learning from your mistakes. And although change may seem inconsiderable, it will always be existent. Discomfort is inevitable, and it may lead to uncertainty. But this should not be a limiting factor, but a signal that perhaps something new, something unprecedented is now happening. Let us visit Prometheus one more time. Despite of being aware of the challenges he would face, the pains and the barriers, he would keep on pushing forwards. Once Zeus found out about his little heist, he would be sentenced upon eternal torture, but he would endure, and he would be eventually freed by a son of a human who would have never existed without his intervention. Growth and improvement do not come from avoiding struggles, but from enduring them. Maximizing our potential means pushing ourselves forwards and beyond our limits, as hard as this might be. Persistence turns pain into progress, even if it's no more than one tiny step per day. Everything adds up. At this point, you have probably already thought about your inner fire, and also perhaps what your first step can be. Now, find a way to stay consistent, as a way to turn your actions into habits and walk towards the direction of your goals. Once you applied all these steps, you'll probably ask yourself one very important question, and it is, how can I know I've been successful at maximizing my potential? That point of personal fulfillment when your present purpose is being fulfilled. And for this, we have to understand something very important. We live in a society, interwoven and interconnected. Each one of us has a role to play. We all have a potential and a purpose, but these are always subject to change. If we were to hold on tight to the very same passion, growth might not be possible. The secret lies in accepting change and find a way to keep on going forwards. Once Prometheus was unchained, he would have been able to look upon the world he helped create. Humanity were no longer cave dwellers. They have found a way to work together in order to raise civilization, even parallel to the gods. It must have felt good, seeing that his vision had become a reality. After everything he had to endure, humanity was now going forwards. There is no such thing as me or you without also contemplating every single that surrounds us. We all make a part of something greater than ourselves. So, when we find our flames, tend to our fires, and keep on going forwards, we are assuring society can thrive and grow. Maximizing our potential is not about reaching perfection, but about reaching the highest level of personal capability through sustained dedication. Each one of us, every single person in this room and in the world, has a little flame that drives our actions. But Prometheus didn't give fire only to one person. He gave it to humanity. In the great scheme of things, all of our fires, they all add up into one. One powerful raging flame that drives society forwards and upwards. There is one very beautiful word in the English language, and it is synergy. When the interaction or cooperation between different people result in a combined effect greater than the sum of its separate parts. And that is what we are. When we find our flames and tend to them, we are also helping light the flame within us shine brighter. And this way, we're painting a better picture for the rest of society. Finding and tending your flames is not an act of individuality, by a way of showing that personal progress will always lead, directly or indirectly, to collective progress. If you are able to find your fire, be true to your nature, and work towards it despite what others think, if you're able to take the first step and then continue forwards, you will be making the flame within you shine as bright as possible. And with it, the fire of civilization will too. I truly believe, with all my heart, that every single person hearing these words is capable of greatness, in their own way and at their own time. I believe in the potential of humanity, and that we're able to do anything, everything, if we have the courage to continue to go forwards. And as Walt Disney once said, all of your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. And quite frankly, I could not agree more. I now want to invite you to take action in your own lives. After all, it is only yours. To dream big and light that fire within you. And if we all play our parts, we will make a world Prometheus would be proud of. Thank you.